Good morning, 12s, and welcome to Seahawks 360 podcast. Happy holidays to everyone. Hopefully, for those who celebrate, you've had a Merry Christmas. Tino and I are
Mhm.
back. Tino, what's happening?
Not a lot. Happy holidays, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope everybody's staying safe, staying warm. Unseasonably warm here in Eastern Washington. Pretty interesting holidays, but very happy, very thankful,
Yeah, same
very, very
here
thankful.
down south. It was 70 degrees on Christmas, which was weird. Um,
Woo!
it was weird. It's normally,
Yeah.
normally 30s, 40s is standard around this time of year. We got 20-degree weathers, like really it was almost like 9 degrees 2 weeks ago, and now it's like 70. I don't know. What can you say? But
That's
anyway, we got a
wild.
lot. Yeah, it was crazy. We got a lot to get into. It's been a minute since Tino and I chatted it up, so we haven't got the chance to recap the LA game. Sure, there's a lot of talking points from that. Also, the
Mhm.
Seahawks will be playing the Panthers. Um, Headed to Carolina on the
Mhm.
road tomorrow. So they are right now, as we speak, the number one seed in the NFC, which is really cool to say. And frankly, it exceeds my expectations even for this team. But that's what they're in a position to win. They control their own destiny. So these last two games are critical. I've heard some people talking about this potentially being a trap game, and I just don't think that Mike McDonald's going to let that happen. I don't think that this upcoming game will be a question of them not being motivated because they've got to win out. They can't afford to lose any games the rest of the season, the rest of the regular season. So, anywho, but Tino, I
This
know.
defense, this defense is too good. So I'm sorry.
No,
This
no, go
defense
ahead.
is too good to give it to let up. I think if you're an offensive oriented team, you can see it go up and down, right? But defensive oriented teams that are built, you know, the way that this team is, I don't think, there's no letdown, right? Defensively, there's focus. And I also think that it's about your leadership. The leadership on that defense is too strong. So yeah, I heard people the same things people talking about a letdown. I don't see it. I don't see it in this game.
Yep, I agree. And speaking of the defense, do want to get into this Rams game because it was probably about the craziest game you'll ever watch. I don't know. I don't know that
Yeah.
there's another game that's going to have a crazy 2 point conversion and a comeback win. Being down uh, two scores in the
Hmm.
fourth quarter, 8 minutes left of the fourth quarter. Man, what a comeback that was for the Seattle Seahawks. But speaking of that defense, to me, the defense needs a bounce back game against the Panthers. The Rams got them. I mean, what we've seen so far in these Rams matchups when it's Sean McVay versus Mike McDonald is Mike McDonald's won in every instance. They've held down the offense. Now they hadn't won the games a lot of the times, but the Matt Stafford wasn't Matt Stafford
Right.
versus this McDonald defense. But I mean, he had almost 600 yards of offense. Sean McVay against that Mike McDonald defense. I'd say that was probably one of the most surprising things to me coming out of that game.
It is. I think too defending defending a if an offense is built around getting the ball out, protecting the quarterback, not being able to truly pressure that quarterback, what do, right? If you're a defense that's built on that kind of pressure, no sacks. I think no sacks is really, really telling. Again, we haven't had a chance to talk about this game, but this defense had been, pressuring and sacking the quarterback a ton. So if you're not able to actually sack the quarterback, now you got to cover, and at times cover for a while. And that's not. I don't. This team can cover, but I don't think that's how this team is built. I don't think it's built to cover for long periods of time. And so I find it very interesting that against a quarterback who is essentially a statue in the pocket in Matt Stafford, right? He's smart in the pocket, but he's not athletic anymore in the way that you think of some other mobile quarterbacks, and it's zero sacks, right? That's
Yep.
zero sacks and four quarterback hits in a game with that many plays.
Yeah.
So yes, I think the next step for this defense is what do you do against a team that's wired that way, specifically the Rams, because it is not out of the realm of possibilities that the Seahawks see the Rams in the playoffs. again. That's something that needs to get solved, in my opinion, defensively. I still have tremendous confidence in this defense, especially against dang near every other team. But I found that stat very, very telling. Zero
Yeah.
sack, four quarterback hits.
Completely agree. Completely agree. And what I found interesting was the game plan. I was a little surprised at the game plan because it seemed like you saw early on, especially in that first half, a lot of soft zone. Like it almost look. Am I
Mhm.
watching a Pete Carroll defense? I'm a
Right,
little confused. And they
right,
were attacking the linebackers. Ernest Jones really struggled in that game. They figured out ways to manipulate him. I don't know if he just wasn't healthy, but they got him, and they know his weaknesses, right? So I mean, that's the downfall. Like they know what he does well and what he doesn't do well, and they can attack that very easily. And I think you saw that show up. And like you said, have all the confidence in the world. By no means am I like, you know, out on this defense. This defense is really what's going to lead this team.
right.
We saw them have another clunker, if you will, against the Bucks in the Bucks game. Now they had injuries in that game, so I would say this one was the first real game that I can remember where I'm saying, this fully formed version of this defense with Ernest Jones is getting picked on.
Right.
So that was new to see.
These two teams I just think are so evenly matched, right? I think the Seahawks may be more talented, but the level of execution offensively from the Rams, specifically, from Matt Stafford and Sean McVay, is just it's extraordinary, right? And so I think these teams are just if they played 10 times, I think it's 5-5. And I just think they're matched that evenly. And so, an injury here or some luck there is going to be what ultimately determines which one of these two teams wins. Again, I almost expect them to see one another in the playoffs.
Mhm.
We'll get to this later, but I would take the team with the better quarterback in that situation, unfortunately. But yeah, evenly matched teams. The defense is again still great. I think great against every other team darn near, but McVay's just really brilliant, and I think the McVay Stafford combination is unreal. The one thing with them is I haven't seen the update on Devonte Adams' injury, but if Devonte Adams is hurt um, for any length of time, I think that uh, does change that team a bit. If you can if you can really double triple cover Puka Nakua, then it changes what that Rams offense can do. I'm gonna look it up real quick
My
here.
my guess right now he's still out with the hamstring. He was out, for this past game because of the short turnaround, especially. My guess is that they would reserve him for the playoffs. I saw that they experimented last week with the idea of having him be a red zone only guy, but he wasn't able to get to that. So maybe they play around with that. But my guess is they're not risking anything, especially not with the one seed. I mean, the one seed is kind of far out of reach for them at this point. I wouldn't see that they would think it to be worth it to
Right.
bring him back before the playoffs at this point.
Looks like he's out. He didn't practice Friday, so likely out this week as well.
Hmm.
Um, but even if he's at 70%, that's a big deal. I think Devonte Adams on the Rams has really even the field as far as being able to defend them. You could really shift it towards Nakua before, and that's
Yeah.
not the case anymore. It makes it so you're defending a really good running game with Kyron Williams and Blake Corum, and you're defending both of those receivers who are big and physical and incredible route runners. Now it shifts the field towards Nakua. I think it's a little bit easier, but again, these teams to me are very, very evenly matched. Very evenly
Yes.
matched.
Yes. And we would be remiss to, after all the Sam Donald conversations we have had, not revisit. I mean, he was a headliner coming into this one. It's just the reality. You've got
And a Pro
just the
Bowler.
whole hope. What now?
And a Pro Bowler.
And a Pro Bowler. The whole narrative coming out of this game before we go into this game was, can he win one of these types of games? Can he beat the Rams specifically? But can he beat the Rams in a big spot? For most of the game, it did not seem like he was living up to that. Rough couple interceptions. Though going back and looking at the film, and this is pretty consensus across the board, it seems like the Rams just tricked him. And in fact, I think that they have a beat on Clint Kubiak and his tendencies, because some of those movements and some of those anticipations, like you just saw you saw guys anticipating things before the ball's out, right? And so just kind of knowing what's coming. So that's some on Sam, some on Kubiak for sure. But anyway, two interceptions that changed the game. Looked like the Seahawks were down and out, and then Rashid Shaheed coming. I mean, 2 weeks in a row with a lightning type of
Can,
punt
can I
return.
say?
Yeah,
Can I say like I think the Seahawks? Okay, so I'll start from the beginning.
uh,
Didn't like this team coming into the season. Wanted
mhm,
them to rebuild.
right.
Knew the defense was going to be great. Hated Darnold. Darnold comes out on fire. This team is better than I thought it would be. Right, continuing to ascend. National spotlight. Defense is top three, maybe the best defense in the NFL.
Mhm,
Still saying, okay, this team is okay, looks like a playoff team now. Still don't like this team necessarily. Don't think it's going to go very far. I think that, and I'm not there yet to say this is a Super Bowl contending team, even if they are the one seed. However, what I will say is the addition of, and we had talked about this when the deal was made, the addition of Rashid Shaheed and what he does for both the offense and the special teams, the electricity with which he plays is just, it's different, right? This is
yeah,
100% what they needed. And to me, what I'm getting at is I really do think that one acquisition takes this team to a different level.
mhm,
Am I willing to say it's a Super Bowl contending team? I'm not this week. Will I be next week? Potentially, right? I'm coming around on that. And this is despite Sam Darnold being a dumb quarterback as far as I'm concerned. I think he got incredibly lucky to win this game against the Rams. Without the 2 point conversion, without some of the other BS that happened, he's not winning, right? And I think he was horrible in the first half. And to say a quarterback got tricked is, I don't want a quarterback that's going to get tricked, right? I want a quarterback that can read the defense all the time. Point is, though, what I'm getting at is Shaheed is the difference in this team being very good and this team potentially going deep into the playoffs. And typically it's not one player. And if it is one player, it's typically not a wide receiver or a special teamer. But to your point, 2 games in a row, he's completely flipped the script on the game. 2 games in a row with his ability to return. Not to mention the fact that his ability to get deep and his quickness is now I know JSN hasn't produced the same numbers recently, but Shaheed opens up this offense in ways that we just didn't have, right?
mhm,
MVS was supposed to do it, and but he was too one dimensional. I think it was an incredible acquisition. I think John Schneider receives or deserves tremendous accolades, not only for this team in general, like Demarcus Lawrence, right?
mhm.
Um, but the Shaheed acquisition was absolutely perfect. The
Yeah,
absolute perfect acquisition, in my opinion.
completely agree. Yeah, it definitely shifted this game. Yeah, that's it. Your comments on Sam are interesting. I definitely can see why you would agree. The only reason why I give a little leeway is because those throws happen with anticipation, and when you throw with anticipation, you can get tricked. It's just kind of a two-edged sword. I'd rather the quarterback be able to throw with anticipation. Russell frustrated the oh my jeez, he frustrated the heck out of me
Right.
with his lack of ability to throw with anticipation. But for most of his career, he had less turnovers, right? And so it's kind of like that, double-edged sword type of thing. But I mean, it's hard to, when those picks are bad, especially when they look on the broadcast. When you look at it on the broadcast version, they do look like bad interceptions. When you look at the film, you 100% get what he was seeing, and really just the DB made a really good play and keyed on it. And then I think the red zone one looks worse. You'd like for him to see that Kobe Turner
That
probably
was
missed the pace
that
for
was
sure.
that was not great. That
Yeah,
was
that
not
was probably one of the worst ones. I can completely get the first interception.
right.
But what I will give him credit for is we've seen him spiral. We've seen him
Yes.
just make mistake after mistake after mistake. And this is an example. We'll see. He's got to prove it again and again and again. He's got to prove it a number of times before
Right.
people will be willing to give him credit. But this is an example of why I believe experience in those moments make you better. And you get better in those moments. The more experience and the more reps you have with him. Now, he's got to
Was
be able
it
to go back and prove it because he's going to see this team again. I'm almost certain of it.
was it experience or did he get lucky? I guess I go back to, the fact that the Hawks won this game is there was a lot of luck that got them to the point where they won 38-37. He definitely executed at times down the stretch. But if Charbonnet didn't have the presence of mind to do what he did, where are the Seahawks in this game, right? And so for me, I want a quarterback who's not. I feel like if he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed or is unlucky in one game, the season's over. In the playoffs versus a quarterback who's more consistent, who I know what I can get from him, right? I don't, I, I can't stand Brock Purdy. I can't stand him. I'm like his number one hater in a lot of ways. But his ability to throw with anticipation is a lot of what makes him very, very good. And
He's getting
I,
them turnovers. You've seen them interceptions lately.
yes, and
Today.
part of that is because the weapons on that offense aren't great, right? When it was Ayuk and those guys, it was different, right? And now he's throwing to Pearsall and Jennings and whoever else. What I'm getting at is we all admit Darnold is imperfect,
Mhm.
but I think his imperfections are going to ultimately be his downfall. Whereas I know there are others who think that his imperfections aren't so detrimental that this team can go far. I hope that I'm wrong again, and I've been wrong this season in many, many ways. But it's again, I think they were lucky to get out of that Rams game with a win. I really do. I think they were very lucky to get. I'm glad they did. It takes luck to win at times. I think they were lucky to get out with the win. I think they won in some ways despite Darnold. I know that he had a good second half. I think they won despite his first half. I think they win in Carolina. I think they win in San Francisco and are the one seed. But I also, and then I need to see the matchups, but I'm very apprehensive about what happens to him. I'm not worried about the rest of the team. What happens to Darnold in the playoffs? Also, what happens at left tackle moving forward as well? I know Jones had a great game last game, but I don't think that's necessarily something that you can count on week to week.
Yeah, I definitely want to come back to that Charles
Hmm.
Cross thing. I think we'd be remiss to say that they didn't get lucky. I think that'd be, I mean, they just did. They got lucky that it was a primetime game, in fact, because I don't think if this is a, first late game, 10 a.m. game,
Hmm.
you know, on red zone, I'm not sure they catch that play to even, really pay the attention to it that it got.
Right. Right.
So I think there's a lot of things that play into it, but I also feel the same way, and I felt the same way by the Rams last matchup in their win. That
Yes.
punt
Yes.
was
Agreed.
lucky,
Yes.
lucky, and so I just kind of think that's kind of how these games have gone. It's weird. They've been weird, man. They've come down to weird moments, and it seems like the team that plays the best doesn't win anyway because the Seahawks outplayed the Rams and they lost that first matchup. The,
Right.
the, the Seahawks were the better team. In
Right.
this game, the Rams were the better team and they
Right.
lost. I'm interested to see how this trend continues, but certainly will gotta admit that. I will also admit I too am apprehensive about how he plays down the stretch because we saw this last year, an opportunity with the one seed on the line. How did he do in those moments? So for me, he's got to come out every week and he's got to show it.
Right.
This is the crunch time. This is when the pressure can get to you.
Right.
And I've seen little things that have given me encouragement along the way, but the little things have got to become the big thing at some point. And does that happen right now? Where I would really like it to, is a major question mark for me as well.
I go. I say this every week, and I know like the running game numbers wise was great last week,
Mhm.
right? 6.8 yards a carry, 2 touchdowns, 171 yards. A lot of that was boosted by K9's long run and then Shaheed's 31-yard run. But if the Seahawks had a more consistent running game, more consistent as in more effective, I understand they run the ball a lot. I just think that takes away that pressure from Darnold. If it was run centric, then, and I know we run the ball more than most every other team in the NFL, if not every team in the NFL,
Mhm.
but more effective, more threatening, right? That's what the other team is game planning for. I think that's when Darnold thrives. He thrives when he doesn't have to be the center of attention. He thrives when there are other threats. And so I love looking at K9 stat line, right? 11 rushes, 100 yards, 9.1 average. I hope that this Seahawks team can continue to run the ball in that fashion because that's what I think. That's how Darnold is set up to succeed, and that's how this team does go far in the playoffs. Is more balance and less focus on him. I don't know if that's going to be the case necessarily, but that's what I would like to see. I also have to applaud Kubiak because we've talked about this before too. Whether they can run the ball effectively or not, he's continuing to run the ball, and I think that's probably Coach McDonald just telling him, "You have to, right? This is you don't have a choice. I don't care what you do, run the ball X amount of times per game."
Yeah.
But again, I do think that's what Darnold needs to be effective down the stretch and in those clutch games. Imagine the Seahawks come out in a playoff game, pressure's on Darnold, and they can start running the ball to get themselves into 3rd and 2, into 3rd and 3, right? Where, it's you really have to bring that safety down. You have to focus on stopping the running game. And all of a sudden he has those play action opportunities, right? He has those chances to look at single coverage or be able to pick the other team apart because they're threatened by the run. I just think he's not the kind of quarterback that they're going to be able to play against soft boxes and he's going to be able to throw the ball effectively. So I hope they continue what they're doing, and I hope that they get even more effective at running the ball. I don't know that Carolina is the team to do it against necessarily, but we will see.
What's up, Jen?
What's
Jen
up?
in the chat. Appreciate you watching. But I think you bring up great points. That's actually been a real talking point as I've listened to Seahawks content. Definitely, I do that a lot. And I've heard a lot of people mention the run game and how by it. And it's interesting to me because I've seen the steady trend, with the exception of the Colts game, which had me terrified, honestly. Like
Hmm.
that Colts game, the run game was so putrid. I was just like, okay, are we regressing at
Right,
this point with the switch
right.
at center? But Jalen Sundell was able to bounce back against the Rams. That had me really nervous going into this game. But I've seen them be, around a top 10 offense. But I think, I mean, not offense, but running game. But I think people are really what they're saying is we want a more effective run game. I think what they mean is they want a dominant run game. Those are two different things. I think people are looking
Sure.
for dominant more than just effective because they've gotten more efficient in the back half of the season. And it's been since week 10, it's a big enough sample size for you to be able to say they're an efficient run game now, where they weren't at first. But dominant, I think, is what people really want. Now, the last game against the Rams was their best and most efficient running game since 2015 per Pop Blogger. So that's a fun fact. I don't know if that's something they can duplicate or not. We'll see.
It, I would say so. Real quick, if you take away K9's long run and Shahid's long run, it was 23 rushes for 40 yards. That's under a 2 yard per carry average. So you had these two long runs, which you can't just wash away, right? I get that those are a part of the calculation. But after that, you've got these, you're not really doing anything. And so I guess, and if we're talking about how it impacts Darnold, I would rather see 4 yards, 5 yards, 4 yards, 3 yards, 6 yards, right, at a time and churning it out so it's more of, it's more consistent than, 23 rushes for 40 yards and two big runs. I think those they have very different impacts on how the defense reacts and what Sam Darnold is looking at play by play. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I follow you, and I think actually a lot of people would agree with you on the sense of I think that's kind of what people are looking for. People are actually asking for three yards in a cloud of dust is essentially what folks are asking for.
Yes.
Um,
That's I love that game. I love that football.
that's pretty much what folks are asking for, and I don't know that you're going to get that, but I will say that the run game that they have is better than the run game he had with the Vikings. So I know that
Yes.
the
Yes.
narrative is that he needs a running game, but the reality is he went 14-3 and he had almost no running game, not just in volume, but also in efficiency. Like they really could not run the ball, and they chose not to run the ball at poor times. To your point earlier about taking the pressure off of him, so yeah, I think he's in a better position now. What he does with that, we've got to see. And I also think what Clint Kubiak does with that, we've got to see because there's been about 4 or 5 interceptions I can recall off the top of my head where it was a 3rd and 1. Why are we throwing the ball?
Right.
What? Why are we throwing the ball?
Right.
Like, run the ball. You've got, I
Right.
mean, you've got the barnyard. You've got we fixed the short yardage situation. So there are some situations I would say to your point that Clint Kubiak can put him in a better position when you're in 3rd and 2, not passing it all the time. Like
It
you've
might
grown enough, I think, as a
put
team to lean on it.
it's two tight ends and a fullback, and you run behind Gray Zabel, and when Cross is healthy, you run over that left side, right? And
Yeah.
you should be able to gain a yard doing it that way, right? Maybe you run
Well,
play action,
Zabel's hit a wall. He's
yes,
hit a wall, but
but
yeah.
he's still to me the most talented guy on that line, right? Well, that's what I'm getting at. So
Mm,
what I'm saying is you line up heavy, you run on 3rd and 1, you run on 4th and 1, and maybe one out of every 5 or 6 plays on 3rd and 4th and short, you run play action. Play action is no longer effective if you're just always running play action because it's predictable. The whole point of play action is it's less predictable. So to me, you should be able to line up, and especially if you consider yourself a running team, you should be able to go out and get a yard. That's what this team was supposed to be built on. So I agree with you. I don't those play calls. I There's nothing that makes me more frustrated than passing all the time on 3rd and 4th and short, or lining up in shotgun in those
Yes.
downs.
Oh my gosh.
Makes me nuts.
Yeah.
Why did we draft a fullback? Right?
Yeah.
Why is the roster built this way if we're not going to use it in that form? Why
Mhm.
isn't Charbonnet? It should be Charbonnet lined up behind Oots and blocking tight ends on the field, and we should be able to run the ball. The
Yep.
predictability is: are you running left? Are you running up the middle? Or are you running right? That's
Mhm.
the unpredictability.
Right.
Yes, makes me crazy. Especially that shotgun stuff makes me
Yeah, I completely
nuts.
agree. Completely. The slow developing, and Clint Kubiak gets cute sometimes. And
Yep,
look, I don't know. I don't think you're going to get a dominant run game from this team. I still think they've got some
I
work to
agree.
do on the interior of that offensive line. I think it's a big factor in terms of the consistency because we're inconsistent. We've got a rookie as great as Gray Zabel has been at times. He's a rookie. He's hit the rookie wall a little bit.
Sure.
He's inconsistent. We all know about Anthony Bradford, though he's been doing better as of late. It's
Yep.
Anthony Bradford. He's got a reputation for being inconsistent,
Right.
and so you're going to struggle, I think, in that way. But what they can do is like we were just saying, what's within their control to help dominate and make it more of a dominant run game is run in those situations and lean on it a little bit more in those critical moments. I think if they
Sure.
did that, people would probably have less criticism and be less frustrated with the
Right.
run game because you
Right.
have more of your 3 yards in a cloud of dust in those moments to move the chains.
Right. You also have very good blocking tight ends, right? And you have some big receivers on this roster.
Mhm.
You have Cup, right? You have Bobo. Even like and I know he's not playing, but like a Derek Young and those guys, those are big dudes, right?
Yeah.
And so if you have to use them to be able to run outside a little bit or run off tackle a little bit, then that's what you do too. It's not, lining up Oots kind of off center in that offset eye and running off tackle is also a really, really good thing, good thing to do in 3rd and short, 4th and short. I will also say, like, I know the center play has been okay, but we have two centers where we're hoping for average,
Yeah.
right? We have two centers where the best case scenario is that they don't hurt us.
Yeah.
And I think though that position can be upgraded as well.
Hmm.
And we're not I think we're lucky to have gotten to this point with our offensive line, quite frankly, I don't think has been the problem.
Yeah.
And I think we're lucky to be able to say that given the lack of talent at center and at right guard. Obviously, we both hope that they invest heavily in that in the offseason.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's I don't know. It there we're nit the nice thing is we're nitpicking. This team is good.
Yes.
I will say this team is good. We're nitpicking at the line, we're nitpicking at um Darnold because
Yep.
Darnold, is a pro bowler. I'm
Mhm.
staring right now at the 6 pro bowlers and I'm shocked that Sam Darnold is one of them. So we are lucky. Sijin said, I feel the Panthers are a trap game, but seeing the Hawks bringing it home.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier, Zajan. I actually disagree. I don't see this as a trap game because the Seahawks know they have got to win every game. It's only two, and that helps. It's only two, and the Panthers are one. I think they're a good team. They're inconsistent, but I do think they're a better team than maybe I thought they would be when I saw them on the schedule. But they kind of ended the year. feisty last year as well. So I don't think it's a surprise. I think if the Seahawks think that this is a trap game, they're in trouble because
Right.
they've got some players on that team. They beat the Rams. I think your biggest rival are the Rams, and this is a team that beat them. I don't think there are so many things that factor into it, but I don't think this will be a trap game for them at all. One thing that really helps are the extra few days coming off that Rams game for them for that emotional. The only thing I can see is an emotional letdown type of thing, but a few days would help. I think offset that a little bit. Yeah.
They're interesting because the two best skill players on that offense, Rico Dowdle and Ted McMillan. McMillan's the rookie out of Arizona.
Mhm.
The Seahawks against big receivers like McMillan, I don't think McMillan's getting much against the Hawks. I think the Hawks match up well against him. Spoon can cover anybody. We know that. But you've got both Woolen and Eamon Wari, back there as well. The physicality of McMillan. Here's the thing. Here's what I'm getting at, though. The physicality of McMillan, which is what he leans on, is something that the Seahawks can match,
I
which
agree.
not every secondary can match that, right? And then Dowdle has been a very good running back for them. Chuba Hubbard, too. But the Hawks don't, shutting down a running game is what they love to do. And so I think some of the things that Carolina offense has done well up to this point matches up well with the Seahawks defense, in my opinion. The downfall I think for the Seahawks in this game would be, so J.C. Horn has played really well this year at corner,
Mhm.
and there's a
Uh-oh.
good chance that he is matched up with JSN quite a bit. And so, what is Darnold going to be able to beat this Carolina team without JSN necessarily producing huge? Because I think I look at the interior line of and the strength kind of at the front of this Carolina defense. They're stout. Derek Brown is a Pro Bowl interior lineman.
Mhm.
They're very stout inside, and so it's gonna. I think it's gonna be up to Darnold to play a smart game and to not force things. Horn, I don't know how many picks Horn has this year, but I've seen him pick the ball off a number of times, and he's a very, very good corner. So again, this comes down to Darnold being smart um, in this game and making the right decisions and not trying to force the ball too much, because I don't know that the Seahawks are going to be able to run the ball all that well. Looks like he has 5 picks this year already. J.C. Horn does.
Yep. So I don't want to get back to your point about matching up and Rick Woolen. This frankly I found to be a real sore spot. Pissed me off really throughout the duration of the Rams game, and that's that they're not playing Rick Woolen. For as
I
good
know.
as Rick Woolen has played, he played 46% of the snaps. And who did Puka Nakua cook all night? It's Josh Jobe. Josh Job's
Right.
gotten picked on consistently. The Colts picked on him.
Yep.
We've
Yep.
seen week after week after week teams pick on him and him not really be able to stand up and
Yep.
fight back. So I don't know that we can count on Rico Woolen, not because I don't think his play has. I think his play has warranted it, but for some reason, Mike McDonald has been hesitant, and I don't know if it's a motivation thing or if he feels he gives them the snaps, he'll revert back. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, they are hesitant to uh, to give Rick Willen more snaps. And even if you're going to play them both, prior to the Rams game, there had been more of a 65-55 split. Josh Jobe
Right.
getting the nod there,
Right.
and they've regressed in how much they're playing him as if his play regressed. I don't know.
I I
Josh
would
Jobe has
say I would say that they get, so I think Woolen is clearly, 5 times as talented as Job is. I think we
yes.
can all admit that. But Coach McDonald, again, talking about Sam Darnold in the same way, he wants consistency. Knowing Job might give up some plays, he would rather have somebody play consistent than have somebody who's so up and down, because Reek, you could look up and he gave up 2 bonehead touchdowns, but also have 2 picks, right? Like, he's so up and down, and the peaks and valleys are so high and low. I agree with you with Job. I don't think Job is. I think he's a third corner, right? I think that's what his true talent is, and I would love to see Reek play consistent football and have Job be your third. I just don't think that Coach McDonald, to your point, believes that he can do that consistently, or maybe he believes that he's going to. Because we saw him, he would give up one big play and it would turn the game around, and it would be a big play not because he's not athletic, but because he's just doing something really bonehead in the moment. That's what I think Coach McDonald doesn't want. So if Joe plays assignment smart football, but his lack of talent ends up having him give up some plays. I think he'd rather have that than the inconsistencies of Woolen, in my
I think
opinion.
I think on paper you're correct. I would only challenge that since week 6, Rick's been consistent. I mean, he's shown you, and in fact, he earned some snaps back because he was benched for that exact reason. Like, so you're right, he was benched, and Joe was given the spot because Mike McDonald would rather have the consistency. But
Right.
then Rick Willen has done nothing since but be consistent. And Coach has said and commented on his consistency and his doing well in practice and has acknowledged it. And so Rick hadn't done anything boneheaded, I would guess, to warrant a regression in his snaps. I guess is what confuses me. Like it's not like he's made some big
Here's the thing,
mistake.
though. Right. Here's the thing, though. Is he consistent because you're limiting his snaps, and because he's motivated because he's not on the field the whole time, and you believe that if he did play the whole game he would make mistakes, or are you holding him back from being the corner that you think he can be? Right. I think it's a chicken or the egg sort of thing, right? And obviously they know best. That would be my guess, is if you keep him fresh and you keep him focused and going in and out of the game, and he doesn't know when he's going to play, so he has to focus when he goes in, he's a better player than leaving him out there full time, because he tends to have these lapses in concentration. I don't know, because the talent level is like this, right? There's one guy is 6'4" with super long arms and ran a sub 4.340 and was a Pro Bowler in his rookie year, and the other guy they got off the scrap heap, who happens to be more talented than the scrap heap, but is a third corner, and they're choosing to play the third corner.
Yeah, I think you make a good point in that. I'm sure that's part of it. I would just say you could still do that. I'm not saying give Reek the full time. I'm not saying don't play Josh Joe. I'm just saying play Reek at least equal, right?
Right,
Even if you're going to do 50-50 split,
right,
then do a 50-50 split. But right now it's not even that. I think they should give, and my thing, where you could still give Reek 60% of the stats, but he's still not knowing when he's coming in and when he's coming out. You could still have
sure.
that effect and still put your team
60-40.
in a better position. And that's really more so what I'm advocating for. But they might very well come out against this Panthers game, self scout, and decide that there was a problem. I mean,
Right,
we'll see how they adjust. It'll be something I watch in this Panthers game, how they handle that split, and if they give Reek a little bit more of a shot,
right.
because Joe's been getting cooked, man.
I, big
Phillips
time,
Rivers cooked him.
big
Oh,
time, big time.
cooked
But
him.
I look at, you got a 6'4" corner whose physical attributes are what he is, his best characteristic, against a receiver who's 6'4", 6'5", right? Who just goes beast mode on everybody. And that's in on paper, in theory, I'm like, hey Reek, just go cover Ted McMillan for like the entire game, right? Just follow that dude and make sure he doesn't get out of your sights,
Right.
and make sure he doesn't catch any passes. Simple. That's, you wish, and obviously we don't play that much man either, but you wish you could just say that, because the matchup, the physical matchup makes sense to me.
Hmm.
But that's not, obviously teams have to play a lot of zone, and there's all sorts of other variables to take into consideration. But from a very simplistic, point of view, you wish that could be the case. You really do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even
I would agree.
even like having Spoon on the other side. If McMillan goes to the other side, that's fine. Spoon's a Pro Bowler. Spoon can cover anybody. That's the magic of him, is even though he's not huge, he can cover darn near anybody in the NFL. But yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be interesting. I do think this defense is best if Woolen is the starter and Job is not. But to your point, I don't know if that's something that's actually going to happen.
Yep. I want to touch on a couple of other points you made in terms of, strategy wise, for Donald. I know he's got the interceptions. I don't mind going to JC Horn because he's a boomer bust kind of
He
guy.
is.
He's kind of, he can get you, but also you can get him. So I'm not saying don't throw to that side. Not you want to
But
consistently
but
try to.
Darnold be getting got though.
He does.
Darnold be getting got, and
He is
if
both.
that's gonna be the case,
He is both.
Horns gonna get him. You know what I mean?
He might, but I just think the Seahawks can survive that. I'm willing to live with. I'm
Yes.
my thing for Darnold. If you throw enough touchdowns to offset the interceptions, man, I'll give you one. I'll
I
give you
don't want to
one.
be saying that about my quarterback though.
I I would rather have I don't mind a gunslinger, I guess. So that's why it's just preferential to the quarterback. I don't mind a gunslinger if you, but you got to be able to get touchdowns to offset
Right.
that.
Right.
So that's
I
definitely a
I
question.
think that this Hawks defense is gonna come out like on fire after
It
giving
does.
up 37 points. I also think that I think they're going to overwhelm Bryce Young. I like Bryce Young. I'm a Bryce Young believer, but I think they're going to get a tremendous amount of pressure on him, and I think it's going to be up to him to make really quick decisions and make plays kind of on his feet to be able to offset that rush. I think they're going to come after him hard. I don't think it's I see this defense dominating in this game, and I know Carolina's 8 and 7. I know they played pretty well. I know Bryce Young has played pretty well this season, which I'm happy for, because people buried him after his first couple of games. But I think this defense is going to come out just frothing at the mouth, ready to get at him.
I hope I'm gonna say I'm concerned. Not because of the Rams game, but just because the Seahawks have struggled against mobile quarterbacks. That's probably been one of their consistent weaknesses. I mean, that's why Cam Ward was able to chop
Right?
them up. I mean, they
He's
just can't seem to contain mobile quarterbacks, and so
But the
that
thing with
part
Bryce though is he's mobile in the pocket and he can roll out, right? So he's quick with his feet, but he's not necessarily a scrambler, right? He's not the kind of dude. I don't know what he's run for this year, but if you watch him, he's not even at Alabama. He wasn't the kind of guy. I think he was miscast a little bit because he's so small. But to me, he's more of a not a pure pocket passer, but he's a passer before he is a runner. I also think the Seahawks are very good at, or can be good at, containing that pocket, and I think that's one of the. And for me, the second linebacker on the field, Drake Thomas, Tyrese Knight, whoever it is responsible for making sure they can continue to contain. I know they haven't always done it well, um, but that's something that I think that they will do against Bryce Young. Let me see
I
his.
can't think of a quarterback they contained other than Kyler Murray. I'm gonna be honest with you. And so what will get you're right. What Bryce is he's an improviser. So
Yes, that's a good
concerned
word
less
for it.
about his scrambling yards and more concerned about his ability to create the second play that the Seahawks have
Yep.
struggled to defend. And even Mike McDonald will admit
Okay.
those quarterbacks give him fits because he's not good at creating a you know a second type of play type. That's not how his
Right.
brain operates. And so they've gotten chewed up by a big play with some improvisation, and that concerns me. I Not to say the defense is going to get eaten up; they'll do better than they did against the Rams, but I think that this has got to be won a little bit on the back of the offense because the Panthers have no pass rush.
Right.
When I say no pass rush, they rank
They
like
don't.
32nd. Like
Right. Right.
they stink. So I think if you give Sam Darnold time, he might get got, but he can get you more than he gets got. I just think that's just how it's going to be.
Right. Right.
Um, if without the pressure to scramble him at all or
Well,
anything like that.
I wonder too if the defensive play calling changes at all with Kobe Bryant being out and Ty Okada playing more. There's been a lot of kind of talk about how that changes the safety roles
Mhm.
because Love plays closer to the line of scrimmage at times, and Bryant would play deep, but Okada is not necessarily that center field type, right?
Mhm.
And he thrived being closer to the line in that Julian Love role when Love was out. And so, who plays deeper? I would assume that Love plays deeper
Yeah.
and Okada plays closer to the line. But if I'm, maybe I'm wrong, but if I'm the play caller, I might have to be a little more conservative at times because Julian Love is playing in a role that he's not. That's not his like A1 role, right? This
Mhm.
is you're putting him in something a little bit different. So that's something to watch as well. Are they going to play a little bit more conservatively in the back half
Mhm.
in order to protect, a new player in that deep safety role? Are they just going to try to like put so much pressure on the quarterback that it doesn't matter? And then does Okada, how effective is Okada coming back and starting again? He did play, he was up and down, but he did have flashes where he played pretty well when he was subbing for Love. So that's something to watch for me. And I can't believe I'm saying that about Kobe Bryant because not my favorite Seahawk for a long, long time. But the reality is he's played very consistently and he's played very well. The last, I'd say, what, year and a half, something like that.
He got
And
killed
replacing
last.
him is not easy.
He got killed. The Rams ate him up though last game.
Yes, they did.
The
Yes,
Rams ate him
but to me, the Rams and McVay and Stafford, that's an anomaly. That's
Yeah.
something to put to the side because no one else is doing that.
Yeah.
That's You're hoping someone else beats them, and you don't have to face them in the playoffs, as we talked about earlier. But
Right.
against everyone else, right? I think Bryant has been at least consistent. Right when he
Mhm.
was like a rookie, his first couple years, man, he was getting burnt everywhere,
Yes, he was.
everywhere. I wanted him cut, and I think he came close to getting cut.
Yeah.
But the reality is he's been a good free safety.
Hmm.
Once they moved him to safety and let him kind of absorb it and get used to it, he's been consistent. You don't see the Seahawks team giving up a ton of big plays, right? And I think part of that scheme, but part of that is also Kobe Bryant. So again, that's something for me to watch is who's in that role, how does that change the play calling, and then if you're taking Love away from the line of scrimmage, are you getting as many explosive plays from that safety that's playing close in the box?
Yeah, yeah. To that point, the communication will be different because when Ty Okada was in, he was working alongside with Kobe Bryant. So you don't
Yep.
even you've got a duo that you've not had to
Right.
this point. Also, does that affect communication? So that's why I actually think the offense has really got to take the brunt. Now, I'd love to be wrong. Nothing more I love than watching some good defensive football, right?
Yep.
Love to see the Seahawks defense bounce back, come out, dominate the Panthers, lock them up. uh, that'd be fun, right? But I think I anticipate based on how the Panthers defense is, and their run defense is actually pretty middling. I think they rank like 19th or something like that. So you can run on them too. Um, nothing too scary. It's better than it's been, but it's not. Yeah, it's not a large challenge. I'd like to see the offense get going, get a little bit of a rhythm. They've been in a little bit of a slump, I
Right.
think, up until the Rams game, and even still, I'd say even through the Rams game, they started slow, right?
Right.
Well, that opening drive was amazing. Opening
Mhm.
drive was one of the best opening drives I think I
It was
remember,
fun.
maybe the best this season.
That was
But
fun.
other than that, they've been having slow starts
Right.
in those first two quarters, and like to see them get out to a faster start this particular game. Go on, put them away. Go on, because the Panthers are trying to play for the NFC South. They've got to play the Bucks.
Right.
Like that's their chance to win. If you put them away early, that gives you an opportunity to. I mean, not well, you want to put them away early. If you can get a Drew Lock cigar, victory cigar, man,
Right.
that'd be nice.
Right. The other thing I should have mentioned is I think we see Eamon Worry in a more even more prominent role, right? Where
Yeah.
the most talented players on the field would be your three corners of Job, Woolen, and Spoon. Eamon Worry playing that in the box safety role, and Love playing deep, right? That's kind of you would rather see that with Okada not playing than something else. But
Mhm.
Eamon Ward, the other part of that is the unpredictability of where Eamon Ward is going to line up and whether he's a part of the pass rush or coverage
Mhm.
is part of what makes the Seahawks defense special, right? Is somebody that big and that athletic being kind of a queen on the chessboard in that Kyle Hamilton role is what allows Coach McDonald to do what he does. So that's going to be fascinating for me to see strategically what he chooses to do because of some of the reshifting at safety.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we have the pieces to actually do it. Right, we're not grasping at straws and bringing in dudes off the street and all the kinds of stuff we've seen in the past in the Seahawks organization. We have talented players ready to come in and take over. I'm not Ty Okada aside. I'm talking more about Eamon Warrior and Woolen.
I actually want to bring up a relevant point to this game in that we will be down one pass rusher as
Yes.
well, and that
Yes.
Derek Hall was suspended um, for this game. Uh, there's video of what looks like him stepping on Kevin Dotson when he was injured. To me, when you look at that video slower, it looks like his foot got caught under Dotson, and so he's trying to step and get over him.
Hmm.
Um, he appealed the decision, lost the appeal, probably just because I don't think he could have done anything to really. Sometimes they make up their mind. I feel like this was
Right.
an instance where they made up their mind because there was evidence clear to the contrary. I feel, but nevertheless, they will be short pass rush, and that matters also for the run game. For how will the run defense be? Derek Hall is one of the better run defenders. Him and Chinonwosu are one of the better run defenders on the team, and of course, Demarcus Lawrence.
Right.
Um, and how does that pass rush work? We just talked about no sacks on Stafford.
Right.
Bryce can
I
move. Like,
Yeah, but I also think that the magic of Stafford is being able to get the ball out quickly and how quickly he can read the defense, right? And McVay calling plays that cater to the way he is. I like Dave Canales and I like Bryce Young, but they're no Stafford and McVay. I do think too, especially if Okada's playing, I think we see Eamon Wari rush the passer a ton in this game. I also, we're lucky in that the Seahawks have really four edge players that they've been rotating in Lawrence, and Wosu, Hall, and Mafe. And so if you've got to ask a little more of those other three besides Hall, maybe that's what you do. Or you have even Wari take a couple of snaps in that role, knowing he's going to rush the passer. I think they're going to be okay without Hall. It is a big loss because he is a good player, but this is not a team with just two edges and you take one out and now you're playing someone that you don't believe in. I think they're lucky in that again, John Schneider, the depth of that position is something that can absorb, um, at least for a game, right? If Hall was out for 4 games, it looks different. Those guys start to get worn down. It looks different. But for one game, I think that they can deal with it. But to your point, if they can get out early, right? If the Seahawks go up 14-0, now you can bring in, someone off the bench and have him take some snaps at edge, knowing that you have a lead to work with. I do think that will be very, very important for them to get out quickly in this game.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. I disagree with you. I don't think they have depth without Derek Hall. Because you like Boye Mafe, and he's giving you nothing this year. He's giving you nothing except for two offsides penalties the past.
If he can set an edge, if so, I want him to set an edge, right? I want him to be able to set an edge and not let Bryce Young, out the side door, right? If you can set the edge, not let him scramble that way, the other players are going to be able to. Granted, Mafe has not had a good year, but you have other players on that line who can get to the quarterback, and
He's had a
so
terrible year. It's been an awful year. He's got one sack.
you watch. Hey, Candace, you watch what he gets paid on the open market. You're going to be
One
stunned.
sack.
You're going to be stunned what he
I
gets on
bet
the
I
open
will.
market. You're going to be stunned.
I
We're
bet
gonna
I
have
will.
we're gonna be on a podcast and you'll be like, Boye Mafe got how much from the Indianapolis Colts? Watch. I'm telling
We'll
you right
see.
now.
We'll see. I don't know because he's had a regression. I think he gets mid market. I don't think he gets anything crazy.
Well,
Not
but
not
part of
off
it
the back
too.
of one sack.
But what are they asking of him, right? I think part the magic of this defense in some ways is that you have different players sacrificing for other players to succeed. If we look at just stat lines, who's got a great stat line on this defense outside of the tackle numbers for Ernest Jones?
Leonard and Byron have really good stats. The interior.
For defensive tackles, absolutely. And Lawrence has had some really big plays.
Yeah, he's a
But
Pro
what I'm
Bowler.
saying is this is a family affair, right? This is not one dominant. This is not Miles Garrett and the rest of the band. This is everybody contributes in their own way to free up others. And I think again, the thing that I like about Mafe is the way he sets an edge. He is physical. It's not him rushing the passer is not going to be showcased in this defense.
8 solo tackles.
I'm not talking about
8.
tackles either. I'm saying set an edge. If you set an edge, the linebacker is the one who's supposed to be able to step up and make the tackle, right? Because you're trying to funnel that runner or that quarterback back into someone who's going to make the tackle. Your job is to make sure they don't get outside of you, not to actually make the tackle.
I think you're
But
right.
yes.
and I
He has
also
not
think
played yet, but
Allen
yes,
was
he has
doing that.
not been great this season.
So
100%.
I think they've got two pass rushers. Truly, like in terms of who is going to actually impact the game, they've got two pass rushers and a body. Is how I see it.
See,
So
I
a little
disagree
worried.
because I think Leonard Williams rushes the passer.
Well, yeah, interior, yeah,
Byron
that's what I
Murphy
mean
rushes the passer.
for
Even
sure,
Worry
for sure.
function as an edge, right?
Yeah.
They are able to blitz from the corner with Spoon. I think there are alternative ways to get to Bryce Young outside of the traditional edge.
But will they do that knowing the communication issues at your safety room?
Hope so. I
I
would.
hope so too.
I would throw the kitchen sink at Bryce Young and be like, "Go ahead, beat me."
Yeah.
Right? I'm gonna send everyone at you. You're too short. We're gonna get to you up the middle. We're gonna get you on the outside, and we're just gonna bet that Woolen and Spoon and Job can cover for just long enough that you're not going to be able to complete the ball. I love that kind of football. That Brian Flores, let's put 7, 8 guys on the line. You don't know where it's coming from. I love that stuff. To
Yeah.
me, that would be a fun wrinkle in this game. The other
Yeah.
thing is you put that on tape, right? Going into the playoffs, you put that on tape along with all the other stuff they've been doing. All of a sudden, you got to prepare for everything against this
Mhm.
defense.
I'd agree.
And to me, that's smart, right? To get various things on tape, variety on tape, forces them to prepare for multiple things.
Yeah,
So I don't.
definitely agree.
It is going to be fascinating, super fascinating. This game is
It'd
going to
be
be a lot of
fun.
fun.
It'll definitely be a much more fun matchup than I initially anticipated. I also want to give a quick shout out to Julian Love. He has won the Walter Payton Man
Walter
of the
Payton
Year.
Award. Yep.
It's really, really big deal.
Yep.
It really just goes to show. I mean, they talk about how great Julian Love is, talk about his leadership,
Hmm.
but every team nominates somebody, and for him to be the winner,
It's cool.
super happy for him after his story. He struggled with injury on and off the field, but he's been a steady force for this team, even when
Hmm.
he can't actually be on the field. And so, to me, I don't know the other candidates, but to me, there's nobody more deserving. And obviously, they agreed with me because they awarded him that. So big shout out to
Very
him
cool.
and the impact that he's having on the community.
Very very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's cool. Also cool. Was it six Pro Bowlers that the
Yeah.
Seahawks have?
6.
So
It was
that's really dope.
Darnold, JSN, Shaheed as a special teamer, and
Mhm.
then Leonard Williams, Spoon, and who am I missing? Spoon, Williams, and
Demarcus.
Lawrence
Demarcus, yeah.
and
Lawrence.
Lawrence.
Yeah.
I was
Big D.
hoping, I was wondering if Ernest Jones was going to make it, but maybe it was the injury. He. That's my guy. I don't know. That's just
I love Ernest too, but I don't think he's got the stats to.
because he missed the games though. He has a ton of tackles, but yeah,
Well, they
6
kind of
Pro
got
Bowlers
him.
is cool.
They've got him in coverage a little
Well,
bit.
five and a
He
half Pro
struggled.
Bowlers because I think 5.5 Pro Bowlers because they probably took the vote before Darnold started doing his thing.
He- he's been a struggle in coverage at times. Honestly, if I'm being honest, I love Ernest, I do, but he's been a. I could see why he wouldn't be voted. I'm not gonna be upset about
He's
that. I'm
not.
more upset that Byron Murphy didn't get it. Actually,
Yeah, he's been,
yeah,
which is crazy because we're not talking about it as much as we talked about him as a rookie because I think we all wanted him to be great as a rookie, but
yes,
he's playing above what we wanted him to be as a rookie. He's
yes,
been
he is.
phenomenal,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Defense is
He
special when you have that quick first step D tackle that can get upfield in this defense. That's when this defense sings. That's when this defense is dominant, and that's 100% been him this season.
yes, exactly. And he won the fan vote. Did you know that he was a leading vote getter? And so
Yep.
it was the coaches that didn't vote him in, the players, which
But you know
confounded
how
me.
coaches are. They're like, if you haven't been in the league and paid your dues for X amount of time, we're not really going to hype you up in the same way. They can do that sometimes.
They've got to, because Jalen Carter to get that over him, I think it's just blasphemy. It's just blasphemy.
This year, yes, Jalen
Yeah,
Carter though, that's reputation already.
it
Jalen
is.
Carter last year.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
this
It's
game.
absolutely.
You got a prediction for this game score wise?
Oh, you know, I'm going back and forth on this a bit. I think I'm going to lean into a little bit of an offensive game, though. The more I think about it, so I'm going to go 27-14 Seahawks.
That's fun. It's literally the score that I had in my brain. 27-14 Seahawks. You know, I think they'll be able to move the ball a bit. They'll get a couple of field goals to score a couple touchdowns. I think they break out. They get out to like a 14-0 lead. and then kind of coast from there. But I don't see this Carolina team being able to score all that much against the Hawks. Yeah, 27-14. I'm right there with you. That's funny. It's literally the numbers that were in my head.
Yeah, that's never happened. I don't think it
No,
ever
because
happened.
I'm
Same.
usually
It's
picking
normally
the
the
other team. That's why.
opposite. Yeah, it's normally the opposite.
Right?
Oh, that's cool. Also, just final bit of news I wanted to touch on something. Certainly been keeping an eye on Max Crosby. Is
Yes,
having issues with the Raiders. They were trying to shut him down for these last two games. He's having a fit about it. Pete Carroll let him leave the building. Uh, and I just wanted to say, I think it was a mistake for them to not trade him at the deadline.
totally.
Max Crosby should be a Seahawk. And I think it's tough because now the Seahawks won't have as much ammo. They had Boye Mafe's contract. They had Rick Woolen's contract to sort of use as, a trade, trading chip in this past offseason. I think he's going to get traded. But one, I think his value's gone down now if you're the Raiders because now it's clear he wants to get out
Right.
and he's not happy. And now, teams are, I know the Seattle Seahawks are going to be less willing to give up as much, maybe they will, but like they just won't have the same ammo. They don't have as many draft picks. They're already short a lot of them as it is.
Well, and
So
those
it'll
guys will
be
walk out the
interesting.
door, right?
Yeah.
As free agents, those guys are gone, so you don't
Hmm.
have them to trade away. I don't. I'm Crosby's great. I don't know that I love him on this team. But
Really?
I think it's weird. I do think it's weird how that's all gone down with Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll tried to say he's trying to smooth it over and say that it's all planned. You know what? If I'm the Raiders though, it's smart. If the
Yes.
dude's banged up and you're playing for a high draft pick, I don't want my potential defensive player of the year playing. I want him getting healthy.
Yep.
And I appreciate that he's a competitor. I just think that I love Pete, but I think Pete's done.
Yeah.
And I think Pete's done in Vegas too. I think he's a
Hmm.
one and done in Vegas because it's clear they're not really. Well, we've talked about this. You watch them, and I'm like, you spent the number 6 pick on a running back, and you're not running him 20 to 25 times a game and targeting him in the passing game 8 times.
Exactly.
What are you doing? Why did you spend a premium pick on a running back if you're not going to use him? Because he's going to be out the door in 5 years. You only get 5 years to use him.
Yep.
So I don't know. I just there's something amiss with Pete, with Gino, with the whole fit there. I don't think that's great. Here's the thing. Crosby's talented. And what I mean by fit is he's very talented. I don't think there's any debating that. But I think that this team is the way that this defense is built, you can you need athleticism and you need guys that are going to do what Coach McDonald says. I don't think you need superstars talent wise on this defense, or you don't need to pay for them. I think the defense makes superstars. I would rather see them spend draft capital on bringing in premium athletes and plugging them in than spending capital to bring in established stars for the defense because I think that's the magic of Coach McDonald. That's part of the value of Coach McDonald is he can take a player who's less renowned, right, who hasn't accomplished yet, and make them into a star because the coaching in this defense is so good. If you go and spend a bunch on now spending, I guess using Woolen and Mafe to acquire a player like Crosby is one thing, but if we're giving up 2 1s or whatever they're asking for him, that's not something that I would want to do. I would rather bring in the young, affordable, premium athlete instead of that. The Woolen Mafe trade I would have made 100 out of 100 times.
I'm gonna I do get your point, and I think there are plenty of positions I would agree with you that on. The one exception I might make is edge because I haven't seen a lot of young edges develop. The best ones are still the same ones they were 5 years ago. Like there are no young emerging
Will Anderson,
edge pass. Yeah, that's true. But he was, how in
number
the draft
three.
did he go? Is it
Well,
number
number
three?
number 3 pick, yeah.
Yeah,
They
I
took
mean,
Stroud 2 and Anderson 3, I think.
yeah. So you are right, but that's the exception. A lot of the other, unless you're a top 10 pick, and even some of those have been just the bust rate has been really high on those edges as of the last 5 or 6 years. Um,
Yes, but I also trust Coach McDonald and his scheme to be able to put those guys in positions to succeed, right? And so part of it, I agree with you though. It's hard to find Those edges don't grow on trees. And the ones who, so if I go down the top sack numbers this year, it's Garrett, Brian Burns, who was paid like a superstar by the Giants, Aiden Hutchinson, number 2 pick in the draft, Danielle Hunter, who fits your age description, Tui Tuipulotu, who was not a high pick by the Chargers. I think he's like a third or fourth year player. Nick Bonito in Denver, again, not a high pick, maybe a second rounder.
How old is
Micah
Benito?
Parsons,
Benito's been a while.
I think he's a
He spent a lot of time
fourth
injured.
fourth year maybe. Let me see.
No, mm-mm.
He's 26, so
Yeah.
he was a second round pick in 2022. Um, but
Okay.
Will Anderson's there. To your point, Josh Sweat has been around for a little while. Brian Young has been around for a little while. Montez Sweat has been around for a while. So yeah, Cameron Jordan, Harold Landry. So it's a mixed bag. James Pierce was a first round pick of the Falcons this year. He has 8.5 sacks. I think there are various ways to go about it. What I'm saying is, I don't want to give up a ton of resources to bring in Crosby when I'm paying the coach. And the philosophy is our coaching staff can build stars out of talented players that we don't have to pay a premium for. I'd rather they go out and pay the premium for a quarterback or for a center or for a right guard than for an edge because of Coach McDonald's ability to develop the edge.
I would agree with you if Mike McDonald felt that way, but he doesn't feel that way. He's been the biggest advocate behind getting a. He wants
I
someone
know. I know.
that he doesn't want to have to scheme perfectly
Yep.
every play, which I think makes sense.
I
He
don't think he
wants some
has to
guys
though.
that can cover him when he makes mistakes on the defensive end. Some guys that can just make plays above and beyond the call of his defense. And he's got a very high standard for what he wants his defense to be. So Mike
But I
McDonald
think you can.
needs a dude.
I think those guys exist in college though, and I don't think it has to be a number one to get them. Right. I think those guys, if you're looking for a specific type of athleticism, those guys exist. You just have to go find them.
That's the hard part. Mike McDonald wants a dude. He wants a dude. If he wants a dude, I
You
want a
can.
dude. If he
I,
wants a dude,
I'm
I'll
not paying.
give me the
I'm
moon.
not sacrificing that number one pick that I can spend on an interior offensive lineman, or that I can hold on to draft a quarterback in 27 in order to bring in an accomplished D end when I can use a 2 on a D end and bring in someone who's not as accomplished but maybe as athletic that I can teach. I get what he wants to do. I just think it's crazy, especially because this team. I don't think an elite D end is. It's like priority number 5 for me on this team.
Oh, it's not for me. That's
Uh,
interesting.
Quarterback and interior line.
Yeah, I
Quarterback and
mean, yeah,
interior
it's not.
line are by
It's about
far
number. It's number three for me.
center, right guard, quarterback.
The end.
Was the end over what? Quarterback?
Hmm.
No way. Not
Yeah,
not when you have the DN, or not when you have the edges that are already there. No way.
they're B plus
No
edges.
way. No
They're
way.
they're B plus edges.
Okay, they're B plus, but B plus to an A at the edge is not going to be remotely as valuable as going from a D at right guard to an A, or a C plus at quarterback to an A. It is not the same. Those aren't the same things.
Well, one, you have an issue with the quarterback. I don't.
Sorry, B
Two,
minus. Excuse me, B minus to an A. I'm sorry.
you have an issue with the quarterback. I don't. I mean, not to say he's not flawed. I have issues with him, but you know what I mean. Like I'm not looking to move off of him. Um, but I do think you may feel different in the playoffs. I think when the playoffs happen, just as much as a quarterback can take over a game, so can a DN, and those things matter. And
Wait, but if I pull
what I
up,
fear
if
in the playoffs,
if
we
I
won't
pull
be able
that
to get
list up though, let me pull that list up again. There aren't that many on that list that can take a game over. There might be 5 at most
yeah,
that are
exactly,
that are
exactly. It's such a it's a you're right, and that's why I would give up a lot of premium. That's why it would cost the draft capital it would, and that's why I would give it up
Okay.
because
How
there
old
are
is Max Crosby?
About the same age as Miles Garrett.
How old is
Miles
Max
Garrett, 28.
Crosby?
Same age as Miles Garrett. Is he 29 or 30?
Uh,
28.
I'm not.
28. Yep.
I can't do it.
I
I
do it.
can't do it.
I do it.
No
I'd
way.
hit the
No
button
way.
at this point. I'm gonna say I don't care what it takes, but low key, I'm
What would
interested in
you
getting
What
him.
would you give up for him?
I
What
give
would
up
you give up for him?
two or three first, at least two. Particularly because I don't think diddly squat about this upcoming draft. This draft,
This
I know
this
people.
upcoming draft, quarterback wise, isn't going to be great.
No, people have not said the whole draft
No, I
is.
know, I get it, but it takes one player. It takes the right fit, one player at guard or center to change the complexion of this team,
But blue
in my
chip is
opinion.
blue chip. That basically there's no blue chips.
They're not no blue chips. There aren't many.
Yeah, and they'll go fast.
But
Because of the
if you're
lack of
giving up
blue
a
chips.
if you're giving up a 1 in 27,
I
27 is going to have all kinds of quarterbacks, right? I
I'd
For a
give up Prince.
28, 29-year old defensive end that never comes out of the game, right? Which means he's got a ton of mileage on him on a defense that's already a top three defense. That's my point. Is going from 3 to 1 is not winning you a Super Bowl. What's winning you a Super Bowl is a brand new quarterback. What's winning you a Super Bowl is a running game that can be dominant because you don't have a crappy right guard that is hit and miss,
Well,
right?
I will say this.
That's what's winning you a Super Bowl, not getting even better on defense. That's not where you invest your resources.
Yeah, I disagree. I
Okay.
disagree. I think that kind of game wrecker. I think having a game wrecker is one of the most valuable things, and having a game wrecker on defense in particular can win you a
You're
Super
paid
Bowl.
to one, you're paid to develop them, and two, the imbalance of resources on the Seahawks is already so far on the defensive side that you're taking away from the offense by investing more resources in the defense.
But the
Those
offense,
resources need to be invested on the offense.
the offense is. I think they just did that this offseason. They did not actually invest very much in
But
the defense.
if you look, because they already have, look at all the ones on that team.
Right.
Look at all the trades that they've made, that have involved high draft picks to bring players in on that defense. It's to me, the defense is going to be great for the next couple of years. They need to be focused on making the offense better.
I think they will.
That's where you're going to see the biggest improvement. That's how they're getting to a Super Bowl, is fixing the offense, not improving the defense anymore.
I'll tell you, maybe, but here's my argument. Center is not expensive. It's just not. It's not expensive to get an elite center. It's not expensive to get an elite right guard. Now it's hard to find. Like that's the tough part about right guard because for as crappy as we say Anthony Bradford is, he's actually pretty good compared to the rest of the right guards because that's how bad the right guard position is right now. Unfortunately, we might be looking at a situation where we very well might have Anthony Bradford back just because that's how bad the market is at this point. But yeah, I do know they got some depth pieces they like a Bryce Cable do things like that. They'll develop
But
their depth.
okay, but you've got Francis Maui Noah, the right tackle in Miami, who's going to be probably a guard in the pros, who literally everyone says if he switches to guard, he's an all pro. Dominant. He's probably going top 10. You may not get him.
No, you're
Penn
not.
State has a dominant guard, the number one interior lineman in this draft, who is likely going to go mid first round, maybe lower first round. What I'm saying is if you brought one of those guys in,
But
and
you
those
can't.
guys were what every scout is saying they are going to be, and now this team can really truly run the ball. Even if Sam Darnold is your quarterback, you have better protection for him, right? You can run some different stuff because you have a very good line now instead of a slightly above average line. I just think that makes this team, you take away a couple of his interceptions in the clutch. You take away a couple of the fumbles that he's going to have in the playoffs that help us lose in the first round. Whatever it is that happens, right? If you give him a better offense, I just think that is much more impactful in this team's ability to win or lose than upgrading from B plus at edge to A plus.
I'd say that you could do both. I don't think you have to choose because we
If you're
rolled over.
giving up that
We
one, you
rolled
do.
over. we rolled over a heck of a lot of cap space. We really did. Like we didn't use so much of what we had this season. So honestly, I think you can do both. Like that's what it comes down for me. I completely agree with your point. I don't disagree with you that the better priorities they've got to get. I think they need to get an elite center in here. I really do. Get you an elite center. You might be able to cover up some of the right guard stuff. You see if they can
Sure,
upgrade right guard. I don't know if
sure.
they can. You'll bank on Gray's able, hopefully develop.
Fix fix one of the two,
Yeah,
right?
gotta
Start
fix
by
one.
fixing one of the two.
Correct.
Is realistic.
Yes, for sure. And I mean, we'll see. I'm open to some other things too at wide receiver. I'm sure they'll make some changes. So I'm certainly interested in tweaking the offense, and I do think that's a priority. I just don't think there's enough. There are not so many holes. We had so many holes this time, in the preseason last year on offense.
Mhm.
I just don't think that's the case. So I think you can absolutely fix those key positions, except quarterback. We know we disagree on those other key positions that you mentioned. I
You
think you
said
can
it
fix
before I did.
those. We can fix those, and I think we can still get Max Crosby. Now, if I had to choose, then absolutely, I would agree with you. You need to be able to run the ball. You need to fix the running back position, in my opinion, because they don't have the guy. I love them both, but they don't have the guy.
They
So
have
you
a
need
guy,
to
they don't have the guy.
correct, yeah. So and I also don't think that takes a lot of resources. So the reason I'm a advocate for it is because what you need to fix on offense, you don't need to spend a ton of resources to get. But
See,
I mean,
I just, and I think again, I think the opinion about the quarterback is what really
yeah, it's the
shifts
dividing.
our opinion, right? Because
Yeah.
if you don't like the quarterback and you believe you have to hoard resources to try to acquire that quarterback soon, then acquiring an elite D end is seen as a luxury that we can't afford. If
Yeah.
you think Darnold is potentially the answer for a year or two,
Mhm.
or you can live with him,
Mhm.
then you can allocate those resources elsewhere, right? And I think
Right.
that's the fundamental difference in both of our analysis of this roster is comes down to what do we have at quarterback. I think we're in agreement with just about every other position.
Mhm.
The other
Yeah.
thing,
And
on your side, the other thing is that if Mafe is gone this year and Hall is gone next year, or you re-sign Hall,
mhm.
and Wosu is going to be older, right? And we've seen him break down a bit. And
Mhm.
obviously Lawrence is on the backside.
Mhm.
You do have to start investing in, 2027, 28 on the edge. What is that going to look like? It wouldn't surprise me one bit to see them go interior line and edge in their first three picks in this
Mhm.
upcoming draft, because they need immediate help on the line, but also they're going to need help down. And edge is the kind of position too where if you have a guy around, a developmental guy for a couple of years, but they have the athleticism and you can kind of teach them, I think you can come out with a really good product in the end. But again, my opinion, that's where we fundamentally disagree is what is Sam Darnold? And so if you don't agree on that, then every other solution or question regarding this team moving forward looks very, very, very different.
Correct. Correct.
Very different.
Now I will say you need to prepare yourself because I think the Seahawks organization agrees with me. So
I
just
think they do
putting it out
too.
there.
I think they
Just
do
putting it out
too.
there.
I think
So
not, I
it's
think
probably
they
gonna be a
expect
pretty good
him. I think they expect Sam Darnold to be the quarterback next year,
hmm
and I think they expect to have to reevaluate after next year to see what direction they want to go, which coincides with a lot of those quarterbacks who are playing well in college right now coming out. I
hmm
don't think very many of them are coming out. I also will say, even if they could draft Fernando Mendoza, I hope they don't because I can't stand him. Because he's annoying as heck. But anyway,
I need to know the quarterbacks you like.
I like I like
You
Dante
hate
Moore.
so many quarterbacks.
I do. I do. I love Dante Moore at
I
Oregon.
think you're just hard on them.
I think Dante Moore at Oregon is very accurate, very smart, very calm. He's
I
from
meant in the
Detroit
NFL.
too, so I kind of represent him. So I love Dante
NFL.
Moore is very, very, very good. I like Lenore Sellers at South Carolina. I think he'll transfer eventually. He's more of an athlete, um, and he can run the ball, but I think he's very good. Ty Simpson at Alabama, I think, is very good. He's smart, makes really good decisions. He needs another year. Um, there are a lot of guys who I love. Iamaleava at UCLA. I know people are down on him, but he's got a tremendous amount of arm talent. You put him in the right organization with the right quarterback coach, and I think he can be a star. I don't, like I said, I don't, not a huge fan of Mendoza, um, but I think there are a lot of good college quarterbacks. I don't know that there's the one. Arch Manning may still be great. I don't know if there's one. I think the one that I love the most and the one that I would love in this offense would probably be Dante Moore, but I think he's coming out. We'll see. He could be a top five quarterback, and you can make or top five pick, and you can make the case that if you're going to be a top five pick, you should come out regardless. But for his development, I think he needs another year at Oregon. But we'll see. But there are quarterbacks that I like for sure. It's just
I didn't mean in college. I'm in the NFL. That's not Pat. It's not Patrick Mahomes, Joe
let me look.
Burrow, and
Give me a
Lamar
minute. Let me
Jackson.
look. Let me
Yeah,
look.
I was curious as that because those guys, like, it seems like once they play, that seems to make the
That
difference.
I
You
don't like
you
them
named
anymore.
so many guys that you don't like, and I'm like, who do you like other than
So
the obvious top
outside
five
of
quarterbacks?
outside of the superstars,
Right.
well, I think Drake May is a superstar at this point.
Okay.
I think Prescott's great. I think Jackson Dart, if you can get him to not take a bunch of hits, is can be very good. I think Jaden Daniels is obviously incredibly talented. I love Lamar. I love Burrow. Um, I don't. I think Shador is okay. I hate Rodgers. I think Caleb Williams has been incredible this year. I think he's got phenomenal arm talent. I don't love Goff, but I think he's effective in that offense. Jordan Love, I think, is very good. I don't think McCarthy is very good, as much as that pains me to say. I don't love Stroud. I don't love Daniel Jones, but I think he's effective. I think Lawrence has proven to be pretty good this year. I do love Cam Ward. I like Penix's arm talent. I don't think he's a very good quarterback. I do think Bryce Young is a winner and is going to be good. New Orleans is just a tire fire. I think Mayfield is very good. Bo Nix has proven to be better than I thought. Geno's over the hill. I think Herbert is incredibly talented, but somehow ends up screwing up all the time. Kyler's trash.
He's like
Uh,
new age
Brissett
Sam
has
Darnold.
been better. I think Stafford is a Hall of Famer. I can't stand Purdy, but I think he's pretty good. So I think there are a lot of good quarterbacks out there, even
Justin
outside of the stars. I
Justin
just don't
Herbert.
like Darnold. This is what it comes
Justin
down to.
Justin Herbert to me is new age Sam Darnold. Somebody prove me wrong.
He makes mistakes, but he's so much more talented, but he makes mistakes, and that's hard. The
Yes.
other thing with Herbert is it's hard to judge him because he's had trash wide receivers outside of Keenan Allen, and he had both of his tackles get hurt like really early on, and he has
Yeah.
potentially two Pro Bowl tackles, right, in all and Slater. So can you judge a quarterback that's running for his life all the time when he doesn't have very good weapons and he doesn't have good tackles? Like, it's hard. But I think there are some very, very good quarterbacks in the NFL. I just think we happen to not have one of those, despite his Pro Bowl election to the Pro Bowl, which I think is crazy. Like I said, I think they took that vote in like week 4 and then just decided to roll it out now. Kind of like
Yeah.
the Heisman. It's kind of like the Heisman.
I think if Sam Darnold had Drake May's name, you like him a lot more. I'm gonna be honest.
No, not at all.
I think
Not at all.
I think
Drake May don't choke like Sam Darnold
so
does.
it's a lot of reputation. Which my thing is Sam
No, it's
Darnold
what
is
I
Justin
see.
Herbert if he didn't go to the Jets. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. If
It's
he
for
didn't go
me.
to
It's
the Jets,
no. I see someone who chokes in the clutch, and that's hard for me. Right? I'd
yeah,
rather you be okay but be clutch than be great and then choke in the clutch. That's what I don't like about him.
yep. We'll see. We'll see.
We will.
I'm team hashtag. I'm team hashtag quarterback growth, and the league seems to be proving me right in that we've got so many of these guys that have been written off as a bust, that have been not given opportunity to develop, and then those guys prove to ultimately develop into maybe not elite but franchise quarterbacks, which I think there is a difference between the
Well,
two.
I but here's the thing. I think player quarterbacks specifically do need time to develop. I completely agree with that. But just because you give them time to develop does not mean they're going to be good.
Yeah, for
Right?
sure.
Those are two different things. And my
Right.
point is I don't believe that Darnold is going to be good with more time.
Mhm.
That's my point. It's not. I agree with you. Look at how if Aaron Rodgers can continue to play NFL quarterback. right? It's because your brain is always developing and getting better at processing and being a good quarterback. Tom
Correct.
Brady playing at 44, all those
Right.
things. What I'm saying is I don't believe Darnold has the capability to do that. And if he does get better, it's so small in increment that it's not worth investing in. That's what I'm saying. Whereas a player like Baker is getting better quicker, and so that's why we see him progress to where he is. But we'll
Well,
see. Like
Baker's
I said, I hope
Baker's
I'm wrong. I hope
Baker's
we get to
not.
the playoffs, and I hope that Darnold blows up in the playoffs. I hope
You,
so.
you're talking about Baker like he was starting off this year, but Baker's not looked good. He's kind of flamed
No,
out.
but Baker is a better quarterback than Sam Darnold is.
Yeah, I think Bucks fans might disagree with you.
Bucks,
Um,
because the fans of the team are that way, though. You can ask evaluators who's better, and they'll tell you it's Baker Mayfield.
I think I don't know. I think there'll be some that agree with you. I think there'll be others
Darnold
that
is
that won't.
trash, trash.
He's produced more than
We're gonna see the when
Jesus.
we see the four picks and those fumbles in the playoffs.
He had he had
Boy,
46% completion against
just
the
wait.
Saints,
One game. That's one game.
but he had 55 after that against the Falcons.
I don't care, but completion percentage means nothing either. What kind of passes is he throwing? He's
He
throwing
had
deep passes to Mike Evans over and over again. Of course, you're not going to complete that many. Also,
mm,
I believe his
yeah.
his yards per attempt is higher than just about anyone in the NFL because they throw the ball down the field. So it's not apples to apples. Well, we will see. The playoffs will
We'll see.
tell a
But
big
remember,
story
I got
about
a
Sam
2 year
Darnold.
window. I got a 2 year window.
That's excuses now.
No, no, no. I'm because
Uh-uh.
I believe in growth. Now, how he goes out in the playoffs, I need to see progression, right? Like what he gets better at. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna go on a Super Bowl run because I do think that there are gonna be some critical mistakes down the way. And do I hope we can at least win a playoff game? Absolutely. That's always my expectation going into the season. Make the playoffs and ideally win a game. Was unsure about that part, still am, but would love for them to at least get to the second round. Especially if they got the number one seed, that's just then you're going to the NFC NFC division, the NFC championship. So I'd take that all day. But we'll see. I'm sure there will be some critical mistakes down the way. There always are. Can they overcome them? We'll see. Hopefully they can. But I mean, I certainly wouldn't make a bet on it if I had to bet my house on it either. But I do believe in progress, and we'll see. I mean, this 49ers game also is coming up.
It'll be a big one.
That's important. That's an important benchmark for me in terms
Mhm.
of how I see the trajectory. Because if he looks like he looked week one, I'm gonna be getting nervous. Anyway, Tino, tell the folks where they can find you. Let's get out of here, man.
Tino Junior 20 on Blue Sky. There, baseball, football, whatever you want to talk about.
All right, make sure to follow the show at Seahawks365 on X. You're also at Seahawks360 on Blue Sky. That's it, folks. That's all the time we got for today. That's all. We're out. And as always,
No Hawks.